If you have a friend suffering from suicidal thoughts, depression, what do you do? Psych here. These are some of the things my clients have found most helpful. Listening without judgment or giving advice. This above all. Reassuring them that you are there for them. Reaching out and staying in touch, as they might not be able to reach out to you. When and if they are ready, suggesting gently you do a simple, easy activity you enjoy together. Internally value their company existence. They probably can't see any value in themselves in their current space. This, right here. I was suicidal for most of 2020 and some of 2021. Finally coming out of it. My friends all did this, and it saved my life. How did your friends know? Did you tell them, or did they work it out? I've been depressed to the point of suicidal a few times in my life, but I've always isolated myself from friends during those times, and so understandably never got that support. I did share with some of them. I laid it all out for my sister. I trust her, and she was having a hard time, too. We made a pact, as long as one of us was alive, the other wasn't allowed to end it. She promised me her life, and I promised her mine. Forever. That honestly helped a ton. All the days I thought about doing it, I thought of my promise to my sister, and how much it would destroy her. She needed me. My nieces needed me. That was enough of a reason to just cry it out and wait for tomorrow to come around. Some of them just knew, though, because I wasn't myself. I'm pretty upbeat, overall, and one of my close friends noticed that I wasn't smiling anymore. He did his best to make me smile, showing me funny memes or just hanging out and shooting pool with me so I wouldn't be alone. Eventually I did tell him how I was feeling, and it actually brought us closer together as friends. He went from trying to make me smile to checking if I had eaten that day. I'm a recovering anorexic. My depression kicked it into high gear and I lost 20 pounds. He would buy me food or share his meal if I hadn't. He would call me when I got home from the pool hall and stay on the phone with me until I fell asleep on the bad days, even if we weren't even talking, just to make sure I didn't do it that night. My other friends did similar things, always checking to see if I ate, if I had gotten enough sleep, demanding that I go home and sleep if I looked tired, asking if I wanted a workout buddy when I was ready to go back to the gym, huge part of my self-care routine, and just generally being there for me, but simultaneously demanding nothing of me. And perhaps that's what helped the most. My social circle didn't ask me to be anything but me. They expected little emotional effort and understood that I had little effort to give. I'm very lucky. I have a huge network of friends, and if I ever asked for folks to keep an eye on me, they would reach out. Please, if you're ever feeling suicidal, please just reach out. Wait until tomorrow and reach out today, and know that I love you. So 8 years ago, my best friend of 18 years committed suicide. I never noticed anything was wrong until the day I found out he had passed. After that, hindsight was 20/20, and I couldn't believe I never noticed all the hints that were there all along. I spent a long time blaming myself. I noticed them now. Why the heck didn't I notice them before? But, at the end, there was nothing I could do about it anymore. My friend was gone. So, instead, once I quit blaming myself, I made a vow. From then on, I wouldn't let it happen again. Anytime somebody I knew was showing any of the signs I had come to recognize, I reached out to them, even if it was somebody I didn't know super well. I've now done it 3 times. Once for a former co-worker who had been laid off, once with a university classmate who was having trouble in her marriage, and once with a high school classmate who I noticed posting some very strange things on Facebook. Hadn't spoken to him in years, but we knew each other, and he knew my friend who had died. Here's the advice I would give. 1 right off the top. Most important, you gotta let them know you see them struggling and that you are on their side. Don't do it in a confrontational way. It can start with something as simple as, is everything alright? Make sure they know you're not trying to intrude and insert yourself, but that you want to help. My go-to line has always been, if you don't want to talk about it, you can tell me to butt out, but I wanted to make sure everything's okay. And then if they tell you to butt out, you damn well butt out. But ended with, if you ever need to talk to somebody, just know I'm always here. 2 if they do open up to you. Just listen to them. Don't try to resolve their issues for them because, unless you're a trained psychologist, you're not equipped to do that. If they tell you, for example, that their girlfriend broke up with them, say that's terrible. Tell me what happened. Not that's terrible. What can I do to help? In certain cases, people just need to vent all their frustrations and they need a person who is just going to listen to them. Not make all their shit go away, but listen and truly feel sympathetic to them. Just knowing somebody cares enough to actually listen to you is a very reassuring thing. 3. If they start telling you things that are causing their depression, under absolutely no circumstances whatsoever should you tell another living soul about it. Even if the person that is causing them to have suicidal thoughts is somebody you know. Even if you think that person would be reasonable about it. Even if you think you can resolve the issue by telling somebody else. Don't do it. They opened up to you and only you. If they wanted somebody else to know, they would have told them. 4. Encourage them to get some help, if at all possible. One of the biggest issues is that they think getting help makes them weak. The stigma is starting to lift, but it is definitely still there. If you think they're a very serious threat to themselves, then try everything you can to break down that stigma and convince them to get some help. Those are my 4 points. I hope they are helpful. These are the steps I have followed, and I like to think have been somewhat successful to varying degrees over the past 8 years. I know it can seem daunting to put yourself out and offer to help your friend in need, but I promise you that it's worth it and a lot better than the alternative. Also, make sure to look after yourself in this process. Being there for a depressed and or suicidal person is not easy. Once they start opening up, you might hear some things that are very dark and that you may not have wanted to hear, and hearing those things can bring some darkness into your own life too. So always make sure you are looking after yourself too. If you need any other advice or want help writing a message or something to your friend, you can always DM me. I'm always happy to help, even if it's a complete stranger. As someone who has battled suicidal ideation for the majority of his adult life, the second point should be bolded and italicized. It's so ducking important to have someone who will just listen. The worst is when people tell you they'll listen and then just vanish. It's the worst, because you know the world doesn't revolve around you, but you're still angry because it feels like people just keep abandoning you. It sucks. Having someone who will listen is just so damn helpful. Having someone who also sets clear boundaries is helpful, at least to me. If someone clearly tells me now is not a good time for event session, I know I'm not being totally ignored. As someone who has battled suicidal ideation for the majority of his adult life, the second point should be bolded and italicized. It's so ducking important to have someone who will just listen. Listen and not just negate your feelings. Oh, this isn't such a big deal. Cold been worse. That's nothing. Here's what happened to me, blah blah. My ducking favorite was Peter. Your arguments just aren't convincing to me. After I told a friend of mine that I tried to commit suicide and why I did it, never spoke to her again. But it's been 3 years and those words still pop up when I try to fall asleep. People who are depressed often become silent. They'll stop texting, calling, and using social media. That's when you need to reach out and pull them back into your circle and hug them tighter. There's usually a reason why. Finding out may be tough, but you might just save a life if you sit down and listen to them. Edit. I appreciate all your responses and awards. Great dialogue going on here. I want to add approaching a friend who's a bit isolated. Be gentle, non-judgmental, and ready to listen without commenting unless they ask. Here's an example. Hey man, I care about you a lot. You know that, right? I'm worried you might be sad and going through this on your own. Do you want to talk about what's going on? If not, that's totally cool. Let's do something fun instead. If so, gently ask about depression. Ask Siggy cap sleep, loss of interest, guilt, energy, concentration, pleasure, and if they are depressed, encourage them to see a doctor as soon as possible. And after that, be the best friend you are to them, or best neighbor you can be to them, or best classmate, whatever role you play in their life, as the depressed friend. This is exactly right. Depressed people often isolate themselves because they don't want how shitty they feel to propagate onto their friends, which they think will make their friends start to hate them. You need to keep talking to them, even if they don't reply or just give one-word answers. Just keep sending them messages. You might not think it is helping, but I can assure you it is. Do the best thing someone can do. Be there for them and listen to what they say. Don't offer some shit advice to them or tell them it gets better, but instead give them someone to lean on in their times of trouble. And I can say this for sure, having been someone who was helped out of depression and suicide by just someone who stood there, listened to what I had to say, and goddamn it felt so much better. Hey OP. I have friends that have taken their own lives. The amount of suffering that they go through is intense, and it might be more than you can handle. It's okay if you need space now and then. It takes a lot of emotional labor to help someone in that position. Recognize your own efforts as you make them, because your friend may be unable to appreciate it in the moment. It's not their fault. Depression can be straight up blinding. It's important to keep in mind that their actions aren't your fault, and not to blame yourself if they get angry or frustrated with your help. They probably don't want to feel that way either. Thank you for caring. Listen to them. Legitimize and acknowledge their suffering. Offer kind words and support. Acknowledge your limitations in your ability to help them. Offer to help them find a therapist. Encourage them to see medical professionals who can prescribe medication and give them a diagnosis. Saw some suicidal friend. What I would like. Acknowledge the fact that they're depressed. Tell them that you're there for them if they feel like going out again. Offer help with practical stuff if they need any. Don't force them to do fun things. Don't tell them to cheer up. Only worry when they appear suddenly at peace with the world and depression seems totally gone. It's not uncommon for suicidal people to have a short tranquil phase when they have decided to end it all and are at peace. First of all, I think it's important to keep in mind that it's not your job to cure them. Take that burden off your shoulders and focus on being there as a friend. It will help both of you in the long run. As the saying goes, don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Second, if they decide to open up to you, listen and acknowledge. I know we all have an urge to help, and it's easy to throw out quick fixes like, have you tried X? But a lot of the time validation can be more helpful. Third, don't give up on them. Depression can last a long time. Keep inviting them to stuff even if they decline. Don't answer bail again and again. It's very easy to stop inviting someone when they don't show interest, but in the long run it could be very helpful in their recovery. Best of luck to you and your friend. These things are hard. Hope you can work through it. First of all, I think it's important to keep in mind that it's not your job to cure them. Take that burden off your shoulders and focus on being there as a friend. It will help both of you in the long run. As the saying goes, don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Don't think of it as a job, but think of it being there for a friend when they need it. Second, if they decide to open up to you, listen and acknowledge. I know we all have an urge to help, and it's easy to throw out quick fixes like, have you tried X? But a lot of the time validation can be more helpful. 100% quick fixes never work. In fact, it may even push them back into that shell you managed to break down. Simply saying I understand will go a long way in making them feel better and them feeling they aren't so alone in the fight. Third, don't give up on them. Depression can last a long time. Keep inviting them to stuff even if they decline. Don't answer bail again and again. It's very easy to stop inviting someone when they don't show interest, but in the long run it could be very helpful in their recovery. Giving up on them can be extremely damaging to the point it might drive them to suicide. If it feels like it's taking a major toll on you and you don't know what to do, ask for help, even professional help, if available to you. Depression is a heck of a thing. The darkness used a lot and affects everyone differently. If you're suffering, don't suffer alone. It's heckin' not everyone has the strength or stubbornness to keep fighting, as it is exhausting. Keep speaking to them and inviting them. Don't force them, but let them know the offer will always be open. If they bail, I wouldn't ask them why, but instead say that, and you understand, and for them take their time and come along when they feel they're ready. and always remind them that you care for them and will remain their friend through it all. That is plenty for light to spark and begin the healing process, and trust me, when they are out, their light will be stronger, and they may even go ahead and help others who are suffering, and they'll thank you for being there. I was in this position a while ago, had the plan, the looping thoughts, that it was the only way to end the pain I was feeling. I knew there was something not right with me, so I found a good therapist which gave me someone to talk to. As problems this deep pushed away anyone who tried to help me because they didn't have the right words or capacity to deal with it. A year later I'm doing much better. Professional help is the way to go. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.